Awareness is power, and most men never realize how quietly their strength is slipping away until it has already faded from their hands. They wake up with less fire, less focus, less hunger for life, yet they shrug it off as normal aging, unaware that something so small and ordinary could be draining them every single day. It is shocking how a single dietary habit, something as simple as a nut, could influence hormones strong enough to define masculinity. And because it is common, because it looks harmless, men consume it without question and then wonder why their energy no longer feels like their own. This is not just about food. This is about identity, vitality, and the force that makes a man feel alive. If you have felt your drive dimming, your mornings heavier, your workouts weaker, this may not be coincidence, but consequence. Men assume decline is destiny when sometimes it is simply ignorance. And ignorance is curable the moment truth arrives. Once you know what is harming you, once you can see it clearly, you gain the first weapon every warrior needs, awareness. A man over 40 deserves to live with strength, focus, and clarity, not sluggishness disguised as maturity. The urologist warning is not fear-based, but life-giving, because a threat seen is a threat that can be defeated. Picture a nut sitting in your diet like a Trojan horse, seemingly healthy, recommended by many, consumed without hesitation, yet slowly decreasing the very hormone that fuels muscle, performance, and desire. Men often blame age for what is actually inflamed by the body's reaction to what it consumes daily. Diet becomes destiny when knowledge is missing, and destiny changes the moment truth becomes visible. The body is a system of signals, each food a message, and some messages tell your hormones to fall instead of rise. Awareness turns confusion into control, passivity into power, decline into strength that returns like a flame rekindled. Men must learn to question what they allow into their bodies instead of surrendering to routine. One nut could be weakening you, but awareness could save you. Imagine living half-powered, unaware that your energy, your stamina, your motivation are being drained from the inside by something you believed was good for you. Millions of men eat without intention, living by habit instead of strategy, and habit is the silent thief of greatness. When testosterone drops, a man feels it everywhere, in his mood, in his confidence, in his patience, in his performance. The urologist's message is a call to wake up, to investigate, to ask what is feeding your strength and what is feeding your decline. Awareness means you stop accepting tiredness as normal and start questioning what creates it. When you know the root, you stop cutting branches and start transforming the soil of your life. The dangerous nut isn't dangerous because it looks threatening. It's dangerous because it doesn't. Men must learn to see beyond appearance, to study what they consume, to think like guardians of their own vitality. Awareness gives you the authority to take back what life slowly stole. Strength is not only built in the gym, it is protected in the kitchen, at the table, in the daily choices that become the structure of your life. You might train hard but eat wrong, and the result is frustration that feels like failure even when effort is present. Knowledge separates wasted effort from powerful progress, and progress is the fuel of a man who knows his worth. When hormones fall, ambition falls, clarity falls, discipline falls, not because a man is weak, but because his body is underpowered. The urologist exposes what many ignore. Food is either medicine or sabotage disguised as nutrition. One nut consumed daily can increase estrogen or trigger inflammation, lowering the hormone that makes a man feel like himself. Awareness gives you the chance to correct the course before decline becomes condition. When you know, you no longer react. You choose. Most men never pause to think that something small could control something big. One nut controlling a man's drive, his passions, his physical edge. The body does not measure importance by size. It measures by chemistry, by response, by what happens after swallowing, not before. Awareness means you become a scientist of your own body, not a blind consumer in a world of assumptions. You begin noticing patterns, what strengthens you, what drains you, what leaves you sharper, and what leaves you slower. And once you see it, once you connect fatigue with consumption, you can never go back to ignorance again. You start replacing harm with fuel, weakness with power, decline with rebuild. The nut becomes more than a nut. It becomes a symbol of how something unnoticed can shape a man's future. With awareness, the small things finally matter. Men over 40 carry experience, wisdom, history, yet many walk around unaware that the body they built for years is being eroded by one food they trust. The urologist speaks because awareness can transform futures more than medicine sometimes can. A single revelation can change the next decade of your life if you listen, if you observe, if you take responsibility. Testosterone is not merely physical, it is emotional, mental, deeply tied to a man's identity, strength, confidence, and drive to move forward. If a nut lowers this core hormone, then awareness becomes the shield that protects everything built upon it. When men learn this truth, they stop dismissing weakness as age and start reclaiming power through intention. Knowledge is the hinge between slow decline and powerful renewal. One nut may have been draining you, but awareness can reverse the flow. A man who knows stands taller than a man who guesses. Awareness shakes the illusion of helpless aging and replaces it with the possibility of strong longevity. Men rarely ask why fatigue grows, why desire weakens, why strength feels farther and farther each year. They accept the slide instead of analyzing the cause. But what if the cause is not age, but intake? What if life could feel different by removing one trigger? Awareness wakes a man from passive living. He stops consuming without questioning and begins investigating with purpose. When he learns that a nut could lower testosterone, he stops calling decline destiny and starts calling it reversible. The moment you know, the moment you identify the enemy, the game changes. What once defeated you can now be defeated by you. Awareness is the beginning of every comeback. The truth is simple but powerful. What you don't know can weaken you, but what you learn can rebuild you. A nut that reduces testosterone may seem insignificant, but its effect is not. Hormones shape energy, mood, drive, and masculinity itself, meaning awareness of what harms them becomes a life-changing advantage. Men who learn this take control while others continue to fall unknowingly. They stop walking through life blind, hoping for good health, and start building it like a fortress. They remove what steals strength and replace it with what restores it. Awareness becomes the source of confidence, the foundation of resilience, the spark of transformation. And it all begins with realizing that even small foods can shift the course of a man's vitality. Awareness means responsibility, not fear, not panic, but ownership. When a urologist warns about one nut that destroys testosterone, it is an invitation to power, not paranoia. It means you now hold the map instead of wandering through fatigue without explanation. You can choose differently. Eat intentionally, protect what makes you feel alive. A man aware of his triggers becomes unstoppable because he no longer fights invisible enemies. He can adjust, adapt, replace weakness with strength through knowledge. One nut may have lowered your testosterone, but awareness raises your potential. The unknown harmed you, the known can heal you. Awareness is not just information, it is transformation waiting to be activated. A man with awareness cannot be controlled by habit, by decline, by hidden sabotage. He sees clearly, he questions, he evaluates, he chooses strength instead of surrender. The urologist's warning becomes a turning point, a moment where confusion ends and empowerment begins. You recognize what drains you, and with recognition comes the ability to eliminate it. The nut loses power because you gained understanding, and understanding is the foundation of change. Awareness turns fear into strategy, weakness into improvement, aging into evolution. A man who knows is a man who can rise. A man who sees his enemy is a man who can win. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming the fire that makes you feel fully alive. Testosterone is not just a hormone flowing through a man's veins. It is the foundation of drive, purpose, confidence, and the energy that pushes him forward every day. Without it, the world feels heavier, sharper tasks feel impossible. Motivation fades like a dimming flame. When testosterone drops, a man does not just feel weaker physically. He feels diminished in spirit, like something inside him is moving slower than the rest of life. Guarding this hormone is guarding manhood itself because strength, clarity, and resilience are built directly upon its presence. Every food eaten, every habit lived daily either supports testosterone or steals it silently. A man becomes what he protects and declines in what he ignores, and too many ignore their hormones until decline becomes visible. Testosterone is the engine, and when the engine weakens, the journey slows whether a man wants it to or not. To guard it like a warrior means to treat it as sacred, non-negotiable. The man who values his strength protects his hormone supply like a kingdom under siege. Guarding testosterone means understanding that health is not random. It's a consequence of discipline, consistency, and courage to change what is familiar but harmful. Many men wish to feel stronger, younger, more alive, yet they live in ways that drain the very source of that energy. Food loaded with estrogen-like compounds, lack of sleep, stress left untreated, and inactivity attack testosterone like hidden arrows in the night. and the body responds quietly at first. Slower muscle growth, weaker mornings, irritable mood, a desire for rest rather than achievement. But when you guard your hormones, you refuse to live unconsciously. You choose your habits as weapons instead of weaknesses. You lift, you sleep, you eat like fuel is sacred, because a warrior never feeds himself like a victim. A man who guards testosterone guards his future, his strength, his identity. For him, every choice becomes a battle, either won or lost. Most men don't lose strength because they are weak. They lose it because they never learn to defend it. Guarding hormones like a warrior is not about fear. It is about strategy, power, and self-respect. A warrior studies the battlefield, and in health, the battlefield is the body, the habits, the daily routine. Testosterone thrives when the body is nourished, challenged, and respected, but collapses when life becomes passive, unhealthy, and unintentional. Sugar spikes, alcohol excess, long hours of sitting, processed foods that taste good but destroy performance. These are enemies disguised as comfort. A warrior sees beyond comfort and seeks strength instead, even when strength requires discipline. He trains his body because unused muscle fades like an abandoned weapon. He sleeps deeply because recovery is where testosterone grows strongest. He cuts out foods that inflate estrogen or create inflammation because what enters the body becomes part of the body. Warriors don't let their weapons rust. And testosterone is a man's sharpest blade, a man's purpose, his competitive spirit, his courage to push through adversity all rise with healthy testosterone. Low levels can make even the strongest mind feel uncertain, hesitant, and tired. But when testosterone is strong, ambition sharpens, resilience strengthens, and life becomes something to conquer rather than endure. The man who guards his hormones guards his ability to dream, to build, to lead, to protect the people he loves. Every man wants to feel powerful, but few are willing to protect the chemistry that builds power. They wait for strength to return, while feeding themselves habits that remove it day by day. Guarding hormones means refusing to be a passive passenger in your own life. It means saying no to what weakens you, even if the world says yes. A warrior fights for what matters, and your inner drive matters more than anything you could buy. Testosterone is not luck. It is built by lifestyle, protected by discipline, and fueled by responsibility. Your hormones decide how you show up in the world, in strength or in struggle, in confidence or in doubt, in vitality or in exhaustion. Men who protect testosterone glow with life, move with purpose, speak with certainty because inner chemistry supports every step. Testosterone affects muscle, but also mindset, focus, productivity, even the tone in a man's voice. When it falls, life feels dull and muted. When it rises, everything becomes vivid, clear, powerful. To guard hormones like a warrior is to understand that masculinity is biological, not just psychological. You cannot think your way into strength if your hormones are collapsing beneath you. You must eat for power, train for endurance, sleep with discipline, and remove what sabotages your testosterone without mercy. A warrior doesn't negotiate with weakness. He removes it. And when he does, the body responds with gratitude, with fire, with capability reborn from the inside out. The world will offer you foods, habits, and lifestyles that look harmless but slowly dissolve masculinity over time. Convenience replaces effort, comfort replaces discipline, pleasure replaces purpose, and testosterone falls in the shadows of these choices. But men who protect their hormones refuse the easy path when the easy path leads to deterioration. They choose movement over stagnation, whole foods over processed indulgence, strength over softness. Guarding testosterone is a mindset, to act even when it is hard, to choose what builds instead of what soothes. A warrior understands that pain is temporary, but weakness becomes permanent if accepted. And hormone decline is not just physical, it is spiritual. A man who loses drive loses pieces of his identity, but a man who protects his testosterone keeps his fire alive, the fire to create, to compete, to rise, and to conquer his own limitations. Strength is not given, it is protected. Men over 40 must understand that testosterone naturally declines, but decline is not defeat unless you allow it. The body responds to how it's treated, and age is not the enemy, neglect is. Many men reach midlife and surrender, believing youth is finished and peace is fading permanently. But warriors adapt. They learn. They fight smart instead of fighting blindly. They remove foods that harm the endocrine system. They train with intensity. They choose recovery. They avoid the nut or the meal that lowers their masculinity, because knowledge becomes ammunition. The body is willing to respond at any age if a man feeds it what it needs instead of what it tolerates. Testosterone is not gone. It's waiting for discipline to call it back. The warrior who guards his hormones can rebuild strength at 40, 50, even 60 because masculinity is not just youth. It is lifestyle, consistency, and responsibility. Guarding testosterone is guarding identity, the urge to build, to achieve, to protect, to rise after every fall. When a man's hormones are strong, challenges feel lighter, obstacles feel conquerable, ambition feels natural rather than forced. When hormones are weak, even simple tasks feel heavy, life feels uninteresting, the future feels blurred. Protecting testosterone means protecting the flame inside you, the part that refuses to settle for less than excellence. When you guard your hormones like a warrior, you choose your inputs wisely. Food becomes fuel, sleep becomes strategy, movement becomes therapy. You recognize that strength is not something you hope for. It is something you cultivate. And a warrior does not wait for energy, he builds it. Testosterone is not just a chemical, it is the voice inside a man that says, rise, fight, win, grow. When you protect that voice, you protect everything. One change today has the power to rewrite the strength you carry into the future because transformation does not begin with a marathon of decisions. It begins with one deliberate shift. Most men over 40 think improvement requires overwhelming effort, but the truth is far simpler. Remove what harms you and your body immediately begins to rise. When testosterone is under attack, even small corrections unlock massive improvements in energy, muscle growth, clarity, and confidence. One nut, one food, one daily habit may be weakening you silently, but one replacement can revive what you thought was gone. This is not about perfection, it is about direction. If you shift the direction by a single degree today, your destination in a year will be unrecognizably better. Progress does not demand speed, it demands action. Imagine waking up months from now feeling stronger, lighter, more focused simply because you chose to make one adjustment instead of ignoring the warning signs. Most men wait for motivation to arrive before changing their habits, but motivation is created by progress, not the other way around. When you eliminate the food that decreases testosterone and replace it with one that supports it, you give your body the resources to rebuild itself. The first day may feel small, but the body responds instantly, shifting hormones, improving metabolism, and repairing strength. You do not have to change everything at once. You only have to begin. The body is always listening, always responding, always adapting to what you feed it, physically and mentally. One habit becomes routine, routine becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. Your future strength depends on today's smallest choice. Replacing decline with strength is not an overnight miracle, but a compounding transformation powered by repetition. The same way weakness builds slowly from years of ignoring the body, strength builds from years of honoring it. And it all starts with trading what weakens you for something that fuels you. Instead of consuming a nut that lowers testosterone, you choose foods rich in zinc, omega-3s, vitamin D, and antioxidants, nutrients that signal your body to grow, recover, and produce more power. You choose hydration instead of sugar, quality sleep instead of late-night scrolling, movement instead of stagnation. Each swap is small, but each small change stacks like bricks in the foundation of a stronger life. You are not rebuilding everything at once. You are improving one decision at a time. The man who understands compounding does not rush, he persists. One positive change can resurrect the confidence you thought age had stolen. When testosterone rises, desire returns, motivation ignites, muscles respond, determination sharpens. You begin to wake with a sense of purpose, knowing your actions are rebuilding the strongest version of you. Discipline no longer feels like punishment. It feels like power. When you replace one harmful nut with almonds, walnuts, or Brazil nuts, foods that nourish testosterone instead of destroying it, your body rewards you with strength, clarity, and performance. The transformation is not just chemical, it is emotional. You feel the return of drive, the hunger to improve, the fire to pursue goals again. One habit becomes two, then three, and suddenly the man you thought you lost years ago stands in the mirror again. Some men will spend their lives searching for complex solutions while ignoring the simple changes that could save them. But greatness is built from simplicity done consistently, not complexity done occasionally. One food choice repeated daily does more for your hormones than one intense effort repeated rarely. Your body does not care how motivated you felt one day. It cares how you feed it most days. When you stop consuming what lowers testosterone and start consuming what supports it, you are teaching your body a new pattern. Patterns become biology. Biology becomes behavior. Behavior becomes identity. You are not just changing what you eat. You are changing who you become. The future is not won through intensity, but through consistency born from one small step. The beauty of one change is that it removes all excuses. You do not need a full plan, perfect discipline, or a radical lifestyle shift. You only need to start. Replace one food, remove one trigger, add one healthy habit. Your body will feel the shift and respond with momentum. Momentum is the most powerful fuel a man can possess. Because once forward motion begins, it becomes harder to stop than to continue. You stop questioning your ability and start proving it to yourself daily. The identity of a stronger man grows from evidence created through action. Each day begins to build a new story. I am improving. I am rebuilding. I am rising. And it all began with one decision you did not ignore. A single change today can protect every tomorrow. Men often wait for symptom level breakdown before responding when they should be acting at the earliest sign of decline. If you feel weaker than last year, that is the body whispering. If you feel slower, foggier, less driven, the whisper is getting louder. Remove that one harmful nut, replace it with testosterone supporting nutrition, and you turn whispers into victory instead of deterioration. One change does not just improve health, it prevents collapse. Longevity is not earned through reaction, but through preparation. You are strengthening the man you will be at 50, 60, 70. You are investing in years of power instead of years of regret. One choice today is the seed of decades of strength. One change is the doorway. Once you step through, the entire landscape of possibility widens. The discipline you feared becomes effortless when results begin to show. The gym becomes exciting when strength returns. Sleep becomes satisfying when testosterone rises. Mood stabilizes, stress reduces, energy flows through your morning like sunlight through an open window. Your mind becomes sharper, your presence stronger, your goals clearer, and you look back, stunned, realizing all of this began not from a massive overhaul, but from the removal of one harmful habit and the addition of one supportive one. A man who understands this never waits for permission. He starts, he builds momentum, he grows unstoppable. The body is a reflection of the choices repeated daily, not the choices made once in a while. When you replace a destructive nut with a nourishing one, your hormones adjust, your metabolism resets, your muscles begin to respond again. The process is slow enough to require patience, but fast enough to reward you early. You feel change first in your energy, then in your mood, then in your strength, then in your confidence. Small choices compound like interest, each day adding more power than the last. You are not chasing perfection, you are pursuing improvement. The man who improves becomes stronger than the man who waits. One change today can rebuild the man you were meant to be. Weakness does not have to continue. Decline is not destiny. The smallest decision has the power to spark the greatest transformation. One food removed, one food added, one commitment repeated. You are always one choice away from a stronger life. The future is built meal by meal, habit by habit, day by day. You do not rise by accident, you rise by intent. Reach a yawn, and intention begins with one action you choose today. Men over 40 reach a point where life demands a decision, continue on autopilot, accepting decline as inevitable, or rise with intention and reclaim strength boldly. Energy dips, focus wavers, mornings feel heavier, and many assume this is simply what aging means. But that is only the path if you choose it. Your body is not finished, it is waiting for instruction. Removing the nut that lowers testosterone is the first command, the first act of rebellion against slow decay. When you eliminate what weakens you, you open space for what strengthens you. You begin taking back your vitality one deliberate action at a time. This is a wake-up call to stop watching life shrink and start expanding your power again. The next chapter of your life demands a stronger you. Strength after 40 is not only possible, it is earned through responsibility. You cannot eat like a teenager, rest like a machine, and expect to feel like a warrior. The body rewards discipline, punishes neglect, and reflects whatever you feed it daily. When that harmful nut withdraws testosterone from your life, it silently strips away motivation, stamina, and confidence. But removing it is a message to your body: you are choosing strength. You are choosing clarity, drive, and masculine power. Every decision you make either builds or breaks you. When you decide to eliminate what destroys your hormones, you also decide to rebuild the man within, the one capable of leading, achieving, and fighting for his future. Men do not lose strength because they age, they lose it because they stop guarding it. You must understand that masculinity is not measured by age, it is measured by vitality, presence, and the force you bring into every day. Testosterone is the engine, and if you let the wrong foods poison that engine, you slow down in every area of life. Remove the nut that weakens you, and your body begins to remember who you were and who you can still be. Muscles respond, mind sharpens, ambition returns. You do not need luck or perfect genetics, only discipline. This wake-up call is not a warning of loss, but an invitation to rise. Your best years are not behind you unless you leave them there. When you fuel your hormones, you fuel your power. The man inside you is not gone. He is waiting for you to stop feeding your weakness. The greatest tragedy is not aging, it is surrendering to it. Many men stop fighting, stop improving, stop challenging themselves simply because society says strength declines with time. But your biology listens more to your habits than your birthday. When you cut out the testosterone-destroying nut, you are not only changing your diet, you are changing your story. You are proving to yourself that decline is optional and improvement is available. You wake up with purpose, eat with intention, move with ambition. You become the kind of man others look toward for direction, not the one fading quietly into fatigue. This is your moment to reinvent, not retire. If you choose discipline now, you choose power for decades. Men who rise after 40 carry a different kind of strength, earned, not inherited. They are not boys fueled by youth, but warriors fueled by wisdom and action. Discipline becomes the new adrenaline. Results become the new motivation. Progress becomes addictive. When you eliminate the nut that threatens your testosterone, you do more than protect your hormones. You declare war on complacency. You stop living as if your best days are behind you and start building days better than anything you've known. You train harder, not because you are young, but because you are disciplined. You eat smarter, not because you must, but because you choose power over pleasure. Strength becomes your identity again. You cannot wait for motivation. You must move first. Motivation follows action like fire follows spark. When you remove what weakens testosterone and nourish your body with foods that raise it, energy returns like electricity. You feel it in your bones, in your chest, in your decisions. You wake with hunger instead of heaviness. You finish your day knowing you built something inside yourself: strength, clarity, endurance. The man who waits grows weaker. The man who acts grows stronger. This keynote is your reminder that you are still in the fight. Your body still listens. It still adapts. It still builds muscle, burns fat, produces testosterone, but only when you lead it. Step forward. Act. Remove what destroys your power. Imagine 6 months from now, veins showing, jawline carved, energy flowing through you like current, confidence radiating from your voice. You are not tired. You are alive. Not fading, improving. And it all began with one wake-up call, one decision, one dietary change that signaled your comeback. The nut you remove today is the weakness you refuse tomorrow. You start training your body instead of tolerating decline. You sleep like your strength depends on it. You eat like your hormones are gold. You move like a man who commands his biology. Your future self is watching, waiting to thank you. This life is still yours to claim. Men over 40 who rise become unstoppable because they understand one thing: decline is not destiny, but decision. Testosterone responds to care, discipline, and protection. If you cut out what lowers it, you create the conditions for power to return. You stand taller. You think clearer. You feel younger not because you turn back time, but because you refuse to waste it. This is not about looking strong. It is about being strong. The body is not your enemy. The wrong habits are. Remove the destructive nut and replace it with fuel. Train like your pride depends on it. Rest like your strength requires it. The strongest version of you does not vanish. He waits for you to wake up. This is the moment where you decide who you become next: weaker or stronger, passive or powerful, fading or rising. One food removed, one habit changed, one commitment honored daily can restore the fire men lose not because of age, but because of neglect. You do not need to be 20 to be powerful. You need to be disciplined. You do not need youth to dominate. You need testosterone strong enough to support dominance. Remove what steals your strength. Feed what builds it. Train for the life you want, not the one you tolerate. You are not done. You are not finished. Your strongest chapter can still be ahead if you choose it now.